Well, good morning. Welcome to Agape, the home of love. The awareness and acceptance of our wholeness is how I define it. You could also simply make this thing. Love is the opposite of judgment. If you're judging, you're not in love. If you're accepting, you are in love. Here at Agape, we teach the science of mind as written by Ernest Holmes. And also we practice Zen Buddhism, accepting what is, because we understand until we accept what is, we can't change that. And we understand that in this virtual reality we live in, that everything is a perception. And how we create a mental atmosphere, a perception of how we see the world, if we don't change that, our world will never change. So anyway, before we get into today's message, let's take a few moments and get ourselves centered and open to receive. So I invite you to come to a comfortable, seated upright position. Your back straight. Hands gently resting on your lap. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, breathing in love. Now breathe out the day. Again, take a deep breath in, breathing in peace and clarity. And on the exhale, feel tension just fall away. One more deep breath in, breathing in peace. And as you exhale, release any stress, any tension. Now return to normal, rhythmic breathing. Open yourself up in a way that you can just watch the thoughts pass through your mind. No evaluating, no judging, no discerning, no preferences, no dislikes. You're just observing thoughts go in and out. You're an observer who has no preferences. And in doing so, you clear the path, you clear an opening, you clear space for new ideas to come in. To be able to step out of your old self into the new you that you desire to become. And you understand that life is a process of growth. Life is a process of becoming more aware and having greater and greater and greater experiences of life. And you now really truly understand that in order to do that, you must change. You must change your ability to perceive life in a new way. For without that change, life will continue to repeat, just like Groundhog Day, the same thing over and over and over again. And so having embodied that, you are now open to receive this message, this new message, this message of empowerment. And so with a joyful expectation, with a joyful openness, you start to come back to this time, this place, this body. And when you're ready, open your eyes, put a smile on your face, coming back to now. So today, I want to talk to you about stop negotiating with your old self. There's one spiritual habit that keeps more people stuck than doubt, fear, and procrastination combined. And that is negotiating with the version of yourselves that you've already outgrown. Do you realize that? You're negotiating with yourself, and you're negotiating with an old version of you, an old software version of 1.0, and you're already 3.0. So let's look at that software. Let's look at that old self. Who is that old self? Well, that old self is one who loves approval. That's one who avoids discomfort. That's one who prefers certainty over freedom. That's the one who wants spiritual growth without changing anything. That's the one who believes that maybe tomorrow is the actual spiritual plan. And when you look at that, you realize that any of these 5 variables of your old self keeps you locked in right now. If you love approval, then you're giving away your authenticity, because you're always going to be a people pleaser and you're never going to be yourself. If you're avoiding discomfort, you're never going to go into the unknown, and the unknown is where all change happens. If you prefer certainty over freedom, it means you're going to stay in the past because you're certain of that, where freedom is the ability to freely move about, not knowing what's coming. And you understand that if you're going to change, you've got to change. And then tomorrow's not the answer. It's about who are you being today. You see, most of our suffering comes from trying to drag yesterday's self into tomorrow's life. It's a vibrational mismatch. The version of you that you're trying to create in the future is a completely different frequency than the version you're leaving behind. The two cannot be together. So you've got to let the old go for the new to become tuned in. Here's the big truth the old self can't follow. The old self can only recreate what it already knows. It cannot create anew. It cannot build the next chapter of your life. Your future requires that you have a new identity. When you really think about that, you can only recreate what you already know. You cannot build a new chapter with the old self. And you understand now that your future requires a new identity, a new self. So if we understood that, why do we negotiate with the old self? There's two reasons we keep going back. One, familiarity feels like safety, even when it's misery. I know for a fact a gentleman ran a battered women's shelter. And these women were physically abused by men. And they would come to the shelter because they had no place else to go. And they would work with them, they would talk with them, they would teach them, they would give them tools. And most of these women went back into the situation where they were battered and beaten, and these things happened again and again. Why? Because they felt safe in familiarity, even though they were absolutely miserable. The second reason is, and it goes along a little bit with the first, the ego says, better the devil you know than the freedom you can't control. Here's a key thing in life. You really can't control anything. You think you can, but 99.9999999999999% of things are beyond your control. In fact, just about the only thing you can control is your perception of things. You can't change another human being. You can't get another person to do what you don't want, not without repercussions. So, but we keep trying to do that. And the ego thinks, oh, I'm going to be right this time. No, it's not going to be. You're going to be absolutely miserable. You see, the ego doesn't mind suffering. It doesn't like uncertainty. To the ego, uncertainty is its greatest fear because it is out of control. So in response, we cling to old habits. We cling to old identities, old stories. Why? Because they're predictable. And we, the ego, want certainty more than anything else. So how does this negotiation show up? How do we negotiate with our old self? There's three hidden negotiations. One, emotional negotiation. I'm so scared, I won't act. We let our emotions control us. Well, I've got this fear, so if I've got this fear, fear comes from what? The what ifs. This is where all of anxiety comes from. I see this all the time in talking with people today. What if this happens? What if my kid does this? What if my spouse does this? What if my job does this? What if? You can't go into what ifs. They haven't happened. You got to be in the now. There's no reason to be scared. Then we've got identity negotiation. That means I'm not ready to be that person. I went through this when I lost my job in 2004. when I was about to start ministerial school. Unless I'd lost my job, I don't think I'd have gone to ministerial school, because I wasn't going to give up my identity as a vice president of a large corporation. I wasn't ready in my mind to be that person that would be a spiritual teacher. But the universe gave me the opportunity, and I wasn't ready, but I stepped into it. I stepped into the new identity. The third negotiation is boundary. I don't want to upset anyone. We have been so domesticated to be people pleasers. We've been so domesticated not to rock the boat, not to upset the apple cart. So we will not establish healthy boundaries for ourselves. We rather not upset people. We are not ready to be the new person, and we're so scared of the unknown that we won't act. And so we will negotiate and we will rationalize staying stuck exactly where we are. You see, the old self promises that we made, they give us comfort. Key thing is, you don't have to have that feeling today. You don't need to stay that now to keep peace. You don't take the risk. Let's think about that for another 6 to 9 months. This is what we make promises for comfort. You don't have to have that feeling today. You don't have to have that unknown feeling today. You don't have to have that sense of stepping into something greater than what you may be. Or you can put it off. You don't have to say yes to it now. If you do that, you can keep the peace with your partner, keep the peace with your boss in that. And then the biggest one is, let's put that off for 6, 9 months. Maybe the universe will fix it. Not going to happen. So what's the cost of this negotiation? Well, your inner peace. It's going to drain your energy. It's going to erode your confidence. It's going to stifle your creativity. And it's going to completely destroy any possibility of living an authentic life. Think about that. That's the price you pay by negotiation with yourself to stay the same and to not grow. Your inner peace, your energy level, your sense of self-confidence, your creativity, and your authenticity. Let me ask this question. Is it worth the price? Is it really worth that price? So what's the turning point? The turning point comes when you decide that I'm not negotiating with my past anymore. This one decision about not negotiating with your past anymore breaks emotional patterns. It reclaims your energy. It restores your power. It stops anxiety at the root and aligns you with life, the life you're actually called to live, the life that you choose to live. There's no one out there with a divine plan for you. You create that plan. So when you make the one decision that you're not going to negotiate with your past, you're not negotiate with your old self anymore, you're going to be better emotionally, you're going to be better energetically, you're going to have power, anxiety is going to disappear, and you're going to be pursuing the life that you dreamt about. So what happens when we stop negotiating? Guess what? Life begins to line up and open up for us. Our emotional body begins to update. Our choices become clean. They're not clouded. They're focused on where we're choosing to be. And then when we've made the decision, opportunities line up because we're open to see the new opportunities. We're not stuck in the past saying, you may be so stuck in the past that new opportunities that you want are right there, but you can't see them because you're not focusing on the new. You're focusing on staying still. And guess what else happens? Your environment shifts to match your new identity. When you start making a new identity, rest assured, people, places, things will fall away. But as they fall away, new things show up. So I want you to ask yourself, what conversations am I still having with my past self? Really think about that. Where are you negotiating with your past self? And once you figure that out, here's some tools. I got 3 tools to end negotiation. 1, a daily spiritual practice. Meditation, affirmations, prayer, visualization, gratitude. You get to pick your spiritual practice. 2, recognize the old voice. The old voice that keeps you stuck. The old voice that rationalizes. The old voice that justifies staying where you are. Then, once you recognize that voice, respond to it with presence, not argument. Don't argue with it. Just see it as such. Realize what it's doing. Once you've done that, then take action that the old self avoids. That's right. If the old self is not willing to take the action, that means you're not going into the new. So you'd have to take a new action in order to step into the greater part of you. So recognize the old voice, respond to it with presence, don't argue with it, and then take action that that voice will avoid. So the spiritual invitation to you is the new self is waiting. It's always there for you. The path forward, it requires courage to step into the unknown, to let go of the fear of the unknown. It's also to separate yourself from what everyone else's expectation is. Your past doesn't get a vote in your future. Really understand that. Don't let your past dictate your future. You're not your past. The past doesn't even exist except in your memory and what you've associated with it. Looking at a real life application, walk out of the bargaining room. The bargaining room with your past. Walk out of it. No more deals with fear. No more shrinking for approval. No more rehearsing old identities. Choose who you are becoming today. So many times fear will make us live where we are. So many times we want approval more than we want to be ourselves because we've never learned to like ourselves. And like is the beginning process. We've really never learned to love ourselves. I love the Zen perspective. I accept Lee where he is right now. If I accept Lee where he is right now, and I know where I want Lee to go, because I've accepted Lee, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm going to accept this is where Lee is. This is where he's going. Let me take a step that direction. I believe the key is always taking a step in the direction of what you want. You see, life is always offering us 2 identities. The one you've already mastered, and you've got that identity down. Whatever it is, you've got that down. And the one you were born to live. And the one you were born to live is about growth and expansion, becoming more, having a full and magnificent experience of life. Question I want to ask you is this. Isn't it time to stop negotiating with the old identity that keeps you small? Because that's where all the suffering is. When you stop negotiating with that old identity and you start stepping into your new one, your life becomes powerful. Your vision becomes expansive, and you start to evaluate and get joy out of everything in your life. And when you do that, you will have lived a purpose-filled life, and there will be nothing greater. So that when you die and you're looking at your life, you say, what a great ride. I didn't stay stuck. I went forward into my greatest self that I could imagine. That's the way to live your life. So I want to thank you for taking time to be with me today. And if you enjoyed this message, go to agapespiritualcenter.com, sign up for my daily thought and my weekly newsletter so you can be informed of all the things we offer at Agape. While you're there, go to the calendar, check out all the events. There's a daily meditation every day at 7:02 a.m. Central Time. You can join that. The Zoom link is there. I do a talk, 5-minute talk every day to get you started with your day. All of that stuff is there. Sign up, become a subscriber on YouTube, sign up for my podcast, do all of that. While you're there, if this message meant something to you, sign up and hit the giving tab. Become a regular giver. Do an automated gift. I don't care if it's $5 a week, $5 a month, $10 a week, whatever it is. By giving, you're saying the message is there. And when you give, we're able to continue to bring this message to greater and greater numbers of people. Your giving is so appreciated because without it, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because if you watch this all the way till now, I know that you value yourself. And I know that you'll stop negotiating with yourself because it's too painful. You want to move forward. Joy is calling you. Let's go there together.